Today, we're diving into a major crisis that's unfolding in some of the world's most critical shipping lanes. And, what starts at sea rarely ever stays at sea. This situation is already sending massive shockwaves through the entire global economy. So let's get right into it. This one sentence from our source material, it just says it all, doesn't it? We are way past simple delays or little inconveniences here. What we're actually talking about is a fundamental breakdown in the very logistics that power our world. It is a genuine shock to the system. And this is ground zero. The Strait of Hormuz. It's one of the most vital oil corridors on the entire planet, and traffic there is just plummeting. The conflict has essentially put a chokehold on this global artery, and honestly, we're only just beginning to see the consequences unfold. To really get the scale of this, you have to appreciate what the Strait of Hormuz actually is. It's not just some channel of water, it's a choke point. A huge portion of the world's energy has to flow through it, and right now, that artery is being pinched shut. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. This initial problem, it isn't staying contained. It has actually triggered a chain reaction, a series of 5 cascading crises, where each one just feeds into the next and makes the whole thing bigger. Let's break them down. First up, the first cascade is a human one. We often forget that global trade doesn't just run on fuel. It runs on people, the crews who operate these massive vessels. And with ships unable to move safely, we're looking at a massive humanitarian and logistical standstill. And the scale of it is just staggering. We're talking over 20,000 seafarers currently stranded out there. They're stuck on more than 3,000 vessels, caught right in the middle of a geopolitical conflict that is completely beyond their control. This is the direct human cost of this crisis. So the second cascade follows right on the heels of the first. As commercial shipping gets more and more dangerous, guess who steps in? The military. What used to be purely economic sea lanes are now rapidly turning into militarized corridors, and that completely changes the game in the region. And this is exactly what that looks like on the water. We're seeing nations like India deploying their own navies just to escort merchant ships. That line between civilian trade and military operations, it's getting blurrier by the day, which makes everything more complex, way more tense, and a heck of a lot more expensive. The third cascade is all about logistics. I mean, if you can't go through the main door, you gotta find another way, right? Well, major energy exporters are now scrambling to redirect their oil and gas flows, completely abandoning the Strait of Hormuz for longer, more costly, and way more complicated routes. And here's how that domino effect works. Take Saudi Arabia, for example. They're shifting crude exports over to the Red Sea. The immediate effect? Ships have to travel much, much farther. This tightens the available supply of vessels and, as you'd totally expect, sends shipping costs, the freight rates, soaring. All right, cascade number 4 is financial. It's all about the money. Shipping is a business that's built on managing risk. But right now, that risk is becoming almost unmanageable for the insurance industry that underpins the entire thing. So here's the crucial point. War risk insurance premiums are just surging to levels that are completely unsustainable. Some insurers are even pulling out of the region entirely, and that creates this huge problem for smaller shipping companies, who now risk being priced out of the market altogether. The end result of all this is a major breakdown in the supply chain, where goods just stop moving like they should. So we've seen this chain reaction of crises blowing up in the region. But now, let's zoom out and see how those shockwaves are hitting the global economy. And, yep, that includes all of us. Wow. I mean, this chart really tells the whole story, doesn't it? You definitely don't need to be a market analyst to see what's happening here. The cost of just insuring a vessel to travel through these waters has absolutely exploded. And that cost, it doesn't just vanish. It gets passed all the way down the supply chain. And this is where it really hits your wallet. That tightening of maritime oil flows has a direct impact on the price you pay at the pump. We're now seeing oil surge past that $100 per barrel mark, and it's being directly fueled by this shipping crisis. So if there's one thing to really take away from this section, it's this. The shipping industry isn't just a victim of the crisis, it's the vehicle. It's basically acting as the bloodstream for the global economy, and right now, it's pumping this localized shock out to every single corner of the world. A crisis of this magnitude forces everyone to adapt. Companies, governments, they just can't operate the way they used to. They're literally being forced to rewrite the entire playbook for how to manage risk and navigate the world's oceans. Just look at this fundamental shift in thinking. The old reality, the world we used to live in, was built on an assumption of free passage, the idea that international waters were just open for business. The new reality? It's controlled access, where getting through is no longer guaranteed. Instead, it's dictated by military presence and who your allies are. So, how do you even operate in this new reality? Well, the answer is data. The new playbook is all about technology. Operators now depend on real-time intelligence to see disruptions as they happen, predictive routing to guess where trouble will pop up next, and deep risk analytics to make those split-second, critical decisions. And it's not just companies that are adapting. Governments are stepping in big time. States are intervening more directly than ever before. They're deploying navies, offering financial backstops for insurance, and making it crystal clear that energy security is now priority number one, above almost everything else. So all of this, the naval escorts, the rerouting of ships, the brand new rules of risk, it all leads to one final, absolutely critical question. It's a question about power and who really holds it in our interconnected world. Here's the bottom line. For decades, shipping economics was pretty simple. Supply, demand, fuel costs. Well, that era is over. Now, the main thing driving it all is geopolitics. Your country's political alignment can actually matter more than how efficient your ships are. Which brings us right back to this huge question. Who really controls global trade? Is it the companies that own the massive ships, the markets that set all the prices? Or is it the powers that control the choke points, those narrow straits and canals that all of this trade has to squeeze through? And we'll leave you with this one final thought. In this new era we're in, just looking at a map of shipping routes, it's not enough anymore. The crucial thing now is to understand the power dynamics that decide who gets to use those routes and when. That is the real story of global trade today.